We got music and a countdown, and we're ready to go. Hi, everybody. StreamYard is the easiest way to produce your own live show. And millions of people use StreamYard to broadcast their shows about everything from apple picking to Zamboni making. All you really need is a laptop and a browser, but some of us like to go the extra mile. And this show is all about what those show hosts do so well. So we have a great guest today, and the number one rule of live show is get a great guest to carry the show for you, and we've got that today. So we'll be right back after the intro with a great guest and Joanne, my co-producer here. Gosh, I can't read off a teleprompter for for the life of me. But let's bring in. How about we do this? First of all, hi everybody, and tell us. I love seeing the comments, and I love when everybody kind of introduces themselves and get the conversation going down below. So yeah, let's put your comments in there, and you can join us live on the show. So we'll put up the link. You can join us live here in the studio with us, and you can ask questions or tell your story, and that'll be great. Let's bring in the person behind the screen. The smallest person on the show and the team is usually not the person in front of the camera. So I want to introduce you to Joanne right here. Hi, Joanne.
Hey, everyone. We are super excited for this show, but I want to know where everybody is from. So let us know where you are tuning in from. Say hello. We want to hear from you. And we also have an amazing guest today. Richard Wilmore has been streaming and doing his own show with the Richard Wilmore Show since 2016. He has started using StreamYard about a year ago. He's also going to use StreamYard to host his own podcast and produce a podcast. So we are very excited to have Richard on. So welcome, Richard.
Good morning. The pressure to be a good guest you put up for me. I'm going to just put the cat in front of the screen. She might be better.
Cats are always, they make a great show. It's some scientific thing, some science here. It has to do with a virus. This is serious. It's called, I forgot the name of the virus. It's called a virus the cats have, and it's essentially a biological weapon. So people who are exposed to the cat's virus, and specifically mice, they tend to be more affectionate towards the cats and more docile. In fact, people who have this virus tend to take riskier behavior, but also be more friendly. So they get into more car accidents. And it sounds like fake news, but it's true.
I was going to say, are you reading this right now, or is this something you know?
No, this is true. This is completely true as far as I know. And I forget the name. And it's also, that's why pregnant women should not be around cats, because they might get the virus could have some effect on the pregnancy. But the bottom line is it makes you like cats. And so the mice that are infected with this, they are less afraid of cats, and they get eaten. And so there's some percentage of human population that sees a cat, they have the virus, and they just go, oh. And it's not. So put a cat on the screen, and you're guaranteed
Let's see how many ahs we get, and oh my gosh, I hate cats. Comment from a cat on the screen.
There we go. Wait, that's a different cat. How many cats have you got?
Yeah,
it's like a petting zoo here. They're both it's like they love you guys. I guess I have two, and they're now part of what's happening here. I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
I can't even stop it.
Well, if you throw them away, they're just gonna come back.
Well, that's what I've been doing. And now watch, they'll probably start fighting. This one is 17 and she's going blind. And so she doesn't always know where she is, and she'll run into the other one, and then the other one gets mad at her. So this is my life. Care to join?
Okay. Well, Spectrum is saying can't wait for us to get started talking about how to make our streams better.
Yes.
So I think that was a cue
I'm
for
gonna-
stop
Yes.
talking about cats.
Fine.
I will
Stop
see you
talking
guys behind the scenes.
behind the scenes. See you, and we're gonna keep the audio on during some of the show, so Joanne can jump in with questions or moderate and get us moving when we get a little sidetracked here. That might happen in today's show because we have such a great guest. Okay, so Richard, let's give a little bit of background here before we talk about how you run your show and what exactly you do, and let's talk about what it is you do. What is your show about? And give us a bit of background.
Sure. So, like any 10-year-old boy, I wanted to be a talk show host, like every 10-year-old boy does. I fell in love back in the late 90s with the Rosie O'Donnell Show. And I saw that show and I thought, oh my gosh, she's having fun for an hour a day and making people laugh and having a great time. And just the vibe of that entire show I was like, this is what I need to do. And it was a variety show essentially. And so I always wanted to have a show, and I built this was back in the late 90s, a little studio in my apartment or in my house when I was growing up, and I would pretend to be a talk show host and I would talk to fake guests, and that's what I did until I actually was able to do it in real life.
Cool. You make it sound so simple, but you've been doing it for a while.
Listen,
right?
It was the late 90s. It's 2021. I'm still sitting in a bedroom playing talk show host, so I don't know how easy that is, but I love it. It's so fun.
I love that. It takes time, right?
It
Let's
does.
take a look at at your studio. What have you got? And maybe we can talk a little bit about it. We always open with the tech, so let's start there. So we'll put on the screen here a photo of your. Yeah, here we go. Thanks, Joanne. And this is essentially where you stream. So
So one of my rules for my show is I try to improve something every week. So that's like kind of a goal for me. So this was when I first started stream. That's in my living room, actually. That red curtain is my living room window. And behind the backdrop, the cityscape, is my couch. And so I set that up. Right now, currently where I'm at is in a corner of my bedroom. So that every week I would set that entire thing up, all the lights, all the backdrops, all the things. And it just got to be, there you go. It just got to be a lot of work to do this every week. So I found some empty wall space, and I obviously got a new backdrop. And set it up. So most of it set up all the time in my bedroom. So I just have to put up lights and some smaller stuff.
Wow. So your bedroom is kind of taken over by this setup, which is there the entire time.
Yeah. The red curtains are still in the living room. So I actually have two cameras, and I start my show out in front of that red curtain. And then I usually go to a musical guest or a pre-taped video. And then during that video or the guest, I will go to the desk and sit down in front of where I am now.
Right.
So I kind of move around.
What are we seeing here in terms of equipment? One thing I can see right away is lots and lots of lighting.
Yes, I have horrible lighting in my apartment. So I invested in lights, which I was expecting you to pay way more. I don't know if you want to talk about like pricing or anything. Does that matter?
Sure. Whatever you've got, tell us.
So, I mean, I got those on Amazon like you buy everything else. And a 3-pack was like $70. So I thought for lights, that was a pretty good price, and they work really well. And one of them is like a crane, so you can have it go above you. It's a really nice set of lights that I use. I also have one of those, like the little, they're camera stands, but it moves. Have you ever seen those? They're like remote controlled, and then it'll move with you, or it'll watch you. So I have one of those, and that's really it, and a computer.
Nice.
I try to keep it pretty easy because I don't know a lot of tech things.
And we do have somebody asking, what kind of camera are you using? Because your picture is really clear.
Right now, this is just an external webcam. For my show, I use an iPhone 12, but this was easier to to do for this.
So
I'm just using an external webcam.
So it's right straight off the iPhone. You don't even go off the computer, or you do both. When I
stream my show, it's off of my phone.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the picture does look really awesome here. So we talked about a bit of your equipment, and let's talk a little bit about what have you learned over the years that works for you really well. What kind of best practices have you adopted?
Patience. So I always wanted to be a talk show host. I didn't really want to be a producer or a video editor or anything like that. So I filmed my first episode in 2016, and then I had this hour-long show, and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do with this. So I just Googled free editing software because I didn't have any money, and I was like, I don't know how to do this. So I found a program, and I started just teaching myself. And so I think I've learned, that's what I've learned is patience, because everything to make it look good takes time. You can't just throw it up there. You can't just go live with no equipment, with no anything, and expect it to look or feel good.
Right. We were talking a little bit before we started the show. We got ready a few minutes before, and we were talking a little bit about setup with guests. And I was busy looking at you. I didn't even look at myself, and I now realize that that your head is bigger than mine. And as you're talking about visuals, you told me. So I'm gonna
look, and I'm taller than you. Wait, I can go down too. I can come here. Does that help? No, I'll go back up. Okay. So we'll make sure we're there.
There we go. So now we've got symmetry in terms of power.
Much better.
But if we wanted to show a little bit of hierarchy here, I could make sure that I'm a little bit superior to you by doing this.
Look how I feel like I've shrunk. Just look at how different that looks.
A little bit of flex right there, right? Or I could make my head a little bit bigger and make myself a bit more important than you are in the show. And that's, I think a lot of people do this subconsciously, and a lot of people don't notice it, but it does matter because it makes one feel a little bit closer than the other. And therefore, the person who is closer, by definition, is more, the attention is given to them more. So one has to really pay attention to that kind of stuff. But it can also be a little bit of a psychological warfare sometimes.
I've also noticed just like placement on the screen, like just where people are, changes sort of the dynamic. I was co-hosting a podcast with one guest, and so we were both on top and the guest was underneath. And I was like, we have to change this. It looks like we're interrogating this person. Like we're both like looming over them. Like it doesn't look very friendly. So we changed it.
Right. And I like to put both, if I have two guests, put them both on top, because the comments below, they might cover the portion of the screen. And I find it to be a bit disrespectful if I bring a guest in to put, to place the comments on top of them when I have the option not to.
Yeah.
So I make sure to put the guest on top and put the comments to cover myself. Interesting games here of different orientation.
It is, and you don't even realize it until you're like doing it, and then you're like, oh yeah, that looks weird, or that, yeah.
Right. So we talked about patience. You mentioned patience. What other best practices have you figured out over the years?
I think planning helps, and I also think that my rule for me is do it until it isn't fun anymore. So I never have like, this is how many episodes I want in a season, or this is how many guests I want. I do it because it's fun. So I do it. If it isn't fun and it becomes too much work, or there's other stuff that's going on that I'm not giving it 100%, then I close my season. So that's what I've learned, to not put so much pressure on yourself.
I love that. And I love the fact that you're kind of just open to evolving the show as it goes, which is great. Yeah. And we're evolving this show, and I'm constantly changing it. And I think, yeah, the passion really shows in your show. Like, this is kind of, this is who you are, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I went to school to be an actor, and then I realized I'm not good at like being other people, but I'm pretty good at being myself.
and you put it out there, and if at some point you're not quite, it becomes routine or just becomes reading off a checklist. It's just not it doesn't resonate the same way.
Yeah.
And so I agree, and I applaud you for keeping that alive. It really shows in your shows. It shows in your shows. That's fun. Okay, so let's talk about your theme. It's so lively. All this carnival, the carnival crew. It's not a crew. It's just
a circus. It's a circus. That's my show. It's a circus.
Your show is a circus?
Yes, that's what I think.
In what way? Like metaphorically, or
yeah, like it's just, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, I've had circus performers on my show. There's just, especially in a live format, obviously everything's virtual now, and when we're able to go back and film in a studio or a theater, I will continue to use StreamYard because I think it's amazing. But I'm excited to see like my show in a live format with an audience. There are games, there are all kinds of things happening. So I had to tone it down a little bit for the platform of being virtual, or filming it all virtual. But it's definitely, the vibe is supposed to be a fun, you're not sure what's going to happen, but you're here to meet people that you would never meet any other day of the year. So
nice, and I like that. I like you meet people that you wouldn't meet otherwise. I like that theme. And so at what point did you become did you consciously decide, okay, this is going to be a circus and I'm going to theme it as a circus? Was it from the very beginning, or did you kind of build a theme over time and introduce these elements?
Yeah, I mean, every season I've had a different intro. So I make a new intro for every season. This last season started in September of last year. And then I was sort of at the point where I was not bored, but I was like, I just didn't like it. Like, I had made one, but it wasn't it wasn't the right vibe. And then I got this backdrop and I was like, well, this is fun. So I need to like kind of mimic that. So that's what happened.
Yeah, and it's just a screen capture from one of your shows. It's like so much fun and so much personality, and you got the bow tie and the clothing to match. It's like you're really building it into. So you change the backdrop. Is that just where do you buy that? Is that just a wallpaper, or
it's like a tarp kind of? It's from Amazon. And of course, everything's from Amazon.
So it's not custom made. It's just some kind of big.
Yeah, I like the curtains that were in the photos before. Those are like legit, just curtains, like two curtain sides that are put together. So yeah, that's where I just Googled, or I just Amazon looked up backdrops, and that's what came up.
And that's a real fence behind you. It's not part of the image, right? You got the real fence.
These are real. This is real. All one thing.
Oh,
and
that's
yeah. Here, here. Does that help? I can also move this. This is not like, see, that's the.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah.
And then I went and bought little sequins, which don't show up on camera, but this entire thing is like full of little sparkly sequins. You can see some of them, but yeah. I try to do like little details that maybe you might not ever know, but I know that they're there, you know?
Yeah. Okay, I love your intro. So let's say, I think Joanne has a copy of your intro. Okay. I'd love to show the intro, and then we can talk a little bit about how you made it or what's behind it. Let's see if Joanne, can you? I think she's working. I can see Joanne working on getting the intro up and running. Here.
I am pulling it up. So let me get that shared over here somewhere. Okay.
Yeah, I love showing segments and like video segments. We don't see it yet.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So while Joanne is working that out, I'll just say that I think it's fantastic, and you do this so well, is breaking the show into segments and having like different showing different videos in the show. We do it with some images, and we plan on doing a bit more showing videos, so we can showcase what our guests' videos look like. This is an attempt to get to one of those in just a moment.
I'll teach you how to do it. We'll have a tutorial.
I'm not sure exactly what went on there, but what's going on there was Joanne hit some snag. But
it's kind of what I had to do that because
sorry.
I had to break it up in the videos or like different things because it's just me running my show. So I needed time to go from one room to a next and set up cameras and do all of that. So that's where that idea came from. Is cool. The need for it.
The need for it, yeah. Now the intro itself, which we'll hopefully see soon, is that did you make it yourself? Did you have a videographer create it for you? How did you get it done?
I put that all together myself.
Nice. So you some video editing software?
Yeah. I use Wondershare Filmora. That's the one I came up with when I was Googling back in 2016, and it was what I could afford. And they have thankfully also kind of upgraded a lot in the last few years. So they have a lot of great stuff in there, and it's easy enough for me to figure out and not have to take classes and courses to figure out how to do it. But it's nice enough that the quality of the stuff that you make is nice. I get actually a lot of compliments on that intro, which took me 3 days to make.
Okay, and I am ready with that intro, I believe.
Right.
Okay.
So bear with me if something happens again.
Fingers crossed.
And let me press play.
Oops. Sorry. Here we go. And we can't hear the audio, but we can talk over it. That's a good thing.
Sure.
So this is so cool. So much in theme with what you do.
Yes.
It really sets the tone, and it also it's sort of exciting. It's a pity we didn't share with the audio here, but look at that. I love this. And it features you and some expression. The expressions are great. Now, this is something that I think is fantastic that more people should do, including myself, which is showcase previous guests during the intro. I think this is a fantastic best practice, and because it kind of gives people a bit of FOMO and shows them a taste of what's the level and what's to come based on what was, right?
Yeah.
So it builds credibility and all that. Yeah.
Usually my intros have been clips of past episodes with like playing games and laughing and all that stuff. This one is the first one that has not featured that, but I just loved everything else visually that was going on with all of this, that I didn't feel like, it was really a highlight of who's on the show that today, as opposed to who's been on the show. But I kind of love that intro. Wow. And the theme song, I have a theme song that was written by a band that just for my show. So that was kind of fun. A little added bonus.
Wow, that's awesome. Here's the cat again. So how did you source a song written for you? Did you have a friend, or is this like some service that you could use?
They were actually the first guests on my show back in 2016. And
there you go.
Yeah, so it's networking. Maybe that's the other thing I've learned is networking. And I'm now coming up with other things that I've learned, and not being afraid of no. That's also a really good point. Because I don't know most of the people who come on my show, and it's me reaching out to them on an Instagram message or a tweet or an email I find on their website. And, you get a lot of no's because they don't know who you are or they don't have time or whatever. But the people who are supposed to be on will say yes, and you can't take the no's personally.
Right. Okay, great. So you do a lot of prospecting to find guests, and this is something that a lot of our customers do, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Need to find guests, right? So we have the luxury of sourcing guests from within our community, but Joanna and myself, but most people don't have, they need to source guests from outside. And so when you're prospecting, do you have any kind of script or any kind of maybe media kit to explain to your potential guest, like, hey, this is why you should really get on my show? Or do you just reach out and say, I would like you to be my guest? Like, what's your process?
I have a media kit that I rarely use. I do a lot of just like Instagram direct messages and Facebook messages. That's where I get a lot of my guests are people I follow. But my guests also vary because it's a variety show. So there's actors and musicians and authors, comedians. So, my bank of people that could be on are pretty wide. I also recently found a couple websites where you, as either someone who wants to be a guest, can make a profile and tell everybody what you want to talk about, or as a booker to go on and look at all the profiles. So those have been helpful too.
Nice, yeah. And to streamline the process, we use a Calendly link, and so people who want to be guests to approach us or we approach them, what we'll do is we'll tell them fill out this Calendly link, and in the Calendly link we will put a little form in there, which is like, okay, what's your name? What's your messenger account or something where we can reach out to you if you don't show up, 5 minutes before the show? We don't have to say that, but it's like, where can we find you in a case of emergency? And then we tell them what's the title of the show, what's the show going to be about. So essentially we're asking them to, as you did, to fill out the information. So when I was doing the show myself, it was really a way to just create a run of the show kind of out of this process, essentially. So the guest would give me the layout of, here's what I want to talk about, and here's what I'm good at. So I didn't have to do all that research to figure out what I'm going to ask them. They gave me the information, so it worked out nicely.
They fill out a pre-interview form. I have them fill that out, but I kind of like the idea that they sort of book themselves. Like, right? Like, you don't even have to, like, usually I reach out and then these are the dates I have available, and then I book them and send them all the stuff. But that would be a really easy way to kind of streamline that. One less thing I have to do.
Yeah, it's super helpful because then you just block it for the date and time, for the times and dates that you have open, and let them pick their own. So that works really nicely. So now you also do something which many people don't, which is you get sponsors for your show. And I know lots of people would love to find out, how do I get sponsors on my show? So tell us a little bit about your success. How did you get, if you could talk about how much would somebody get from sponsors, could they expect to receive? How does this work?
Sure. So it's relative. It's something I've played around with for a long time. It's one of the areas that I struggle, and I actually talked to a couple like business coaches about it, because it's hard for me to be like, give me money. Like that just seems so weird to me for something that I'm doing in the corner of my bedroom. You know what I mean? Like it feels awkward to me. But I also feel like I have a very good product that I'm making, and I think it reaches a lot of people, and I think that's fun. So I just came up with sort of advertising packages, different levels of sponsorships. And for me, I call the people who are on my show, especially when it first started, and because I call them basement artists, people who are making amazing product or amazing work, whether it's art or films or whatever it is. But they're not Tom Cruise who can go on the Tonight Show and talk about it. So I created a space for people who are still putting out amazing work to be able to go and promote it and then use it on their social media. So my advertising packages are really geared to small businesses who can't afford huge ads in magazines or billboards. So they start at $50, and you get sponsorship credit on the show, and the end credits you get on the website. I make social media posts for you up to, I'm trying to think of what the highest one is, like 150 for a month of, like, I will make a commercial for you. You'll get all the social media stuff, all of that stuff. And then I put that out, and I always make it, and then I get afraid to put it out because I don't like, it just feels weird. So I did put it out. I started putting it out on social media, and I actually have a couple businesses that right away were like, yeah, I'll do that. So I was like, oh, that's kind of a nice little ego boost of like, okay, I am doing something right. The other thing I do, I drink coffee a lot. I have a segment on my show called Being There, Drank That, where I go to local coffee shops.
Nice.
And help promote them. And so I set up, you can become a coffee sponsor, which is just through a website, buymeacoffee.com. Anybody can like sign up and do it. And you can choose, like you can you can have your viewers buy a pizza for you or a beer. I chose coffee, of course. And they're like $5 sponsorships, but some people will buy 10 of them. So that actually I've been shocked at that, response to the coffee sponsors.
Yeah. So Christian has a question here about essentially disclosure, I guess, to sponsorship, and he's specifically asking about noting sponsors in your live stream. Do you need to set this if streaming to YouTube Live?
I have not gotten in trouble for that. I have commercial breaks that have commercials I've made for all my sponsors, and I've never had anything happen.
Yeah. It's not typically enforced, but there are standards when it's supposed to meet. And I think, as far as I know, I'm not a pro at this, but as far as I know, as long as it's not hidden, as long as it's disclosed verbally in writing or something like that, that there is a paid for relationship, that's all that counts.
Yeah.
So I think, and then there are more formal ways of doing it, of course, branded content and notation and all of that kind of stuff. And I think that mostly is an issue if you're doing some kind of ad. If it's ads are involved, then it needs to then you need to be clearer about it. So interesting. So I like the fact that you have a structure around the sponsorships. You have clear pricing, and I think for a lot of people, I've worked a lot with influencers and with influencer marketing, and we sponsor some shows here at StreamYard. And number one challenge, I think, working with influencers is essentially, if you're a StreamYard customer, you are an influencer by definition. Right? I may not be a mega influencer that's world famous, an Grammy Award winner, but you are an influencer, right? You influence an audience, and so number one challenge is explaining the value and giving a structure to the sponsor. So being able to say, okay, this is how much I typically charge for these such and such type of activities. And here's why I'm worth the money. So that's easily done by explaining, okay, this is my typical audience or my target audience. If you have, and I've seen sponsor shows that have almost no views on them. So it's not about the size of your audience per se. Sometimes it's YouTube SEO is what makes a difference, right? Say, I know how to rank on YouTube, or this is my target audience. My content is what's valuable to you. It's not necessarily the audience size. And then being able to say, hey, I charge $50 a spot. It's gonna last 10 seconds, and all I do is put a slide on the screen and say this, and give you a shout out. Whatever it is, put that structure in there. So coming up with a structure is really amazing.
Well, that's what I was told, because that's part of the reason why I was nervous. Was like, well, what are they getting for this? Like, they're going to be on my like, sure, and a friend told me, like, no, you tell them exactly what they're getting. They're getting however many social media posts. They're getting whatever. Like, you're not guaranteeing sales for them. You're not guaranteeing that they're going to sell, like, anything's going to increase for them, but you are telling them that they have access to however many social media people, and they're getting credits here and being put on your website, stuff like that. That's what they're getting. That's what they're buying.
Yeah, they're buying visibility, brand awareness, all that stuff, all that good stuff, and sometimes just saying that they have a relationship with, or that they're endorsed by such and so people. That's valuable enough for them. So that's so number one step, if you want to get sponsorships, is create some kind of value package, 2 paragraphs, and a couple of sentences and information. That's all it takes, put it and get it ready, and then tell people and then
doing
stop
it.
telling people.
You have to advertise yourself.
Yeah.
So that's sometimes the tough part. Yes.
Yes, you can reach out to any kind of businesses or that might be a match for your target audience. And sometimes you can be creative about it. So I've seen, who was this? I've seen somebody who does a show about streaming, and he got sponsored by, I think it was Red Bull or something like that, and they just gave him like a little refrigerator with like the drinks. He never even drinks it. It just sits there on his desk. Yeah, just sits there, and he gets sponsored, right? So there are ways, and they're like, "What? This has nothing to do with this show, right?" But hey, it works for them, so it's good. Let's see. We've got some good side conversations in the comments. I love that. That's a great sign of success for a show when audience is talking among themselves about the show. They're chatting among themselves. That's the best success, because that's what's going to boost the algorithm and gain the visibility for the show, right? Okay, so now another question. Is your show 100% live? It seems like I have a suspicion that some segments are pre-recorded.
So the interview, so it's usually live. And then, like I said, I have the pre-recorded, like the coffee segments are pre-recorded, but everything else has been live. I'll have, like next week, actually, I'm traveling. So I have a pre-recorded show. So I have to edit that together. But normally, 99% of the time, my show is live, except for little segments like the coffee segment.
I love the coffee segment. I think it's wonderful because it's an opportunity to sponsor, like you bring in a segment, but it also breaks the structure of the show. Like if we were able to now break and go on location somewhere, if we had that set up, that would be phenomenal, and that could be pre-recorded, of course.
Yeah.
Like you said, so that's great.
I will say that since I started doing it, local, like the morning lifestyle shows here in San Antonio have started having their own coffee segments. So I'm not saying they're stealing from me, but San Antonio stealing from me.
It's not stealing. It's this is the world today. Everybody takes, we borrow, or we learn from each other.
Sure.
We inspire. We learn from each other. And the rule of thumb is that Bob is asking, traveling? Who's traveling?
I'm fully vaccinated, if that helps. I'm fully vaccinated. So
we could do a whole show about how you managed to get vaccinated. We could do tips around that.
Flying back to Wisconsin this weekend.
Nice. So the reality of today is that whatever took you a year to develop and figure out, once you figured it out, somebody else can copy in a month or less, right? That's just the world today. Yeah. And so the trick is staying innovative, staying on top of things, and keeping, bringing the best kind of content. People are loving your show here. I love that. Okay. So let's talk about after the show. So after you go live, what do you do with your show? Do you just let it die?
And it just goes away. I stream it live to the Facebook page, YouTube, and my website is where it streams. And then I go and share it to a bunch of Facebook groups, personal, like ones that I am in, and then ones that like my show is in. And then I do a lot of social media for it.
See, we're talking about the cats here, and I'm distracted because of the cat. So, it is true. The cats make the show. Bring the cats in. Babies too, kids. People love little kids.
Kids and pets are what you're supposed to do.
Pets.
Yeah.
People love a cute little kid that comes up on the camera and says something really funny. It's awesome. Gone are the days where we don't want the kids to be, show up in the meetings.
You can't stop it. She just walks over here. So I can't fight it. I just have to let it happen.
Yeah. That's what the cat knows that too.
Yep.
So now you're also working on a podcast. Are you?
Yes.
So let's talk about how you use StreamYard for podcasting. I like
that. I work for an arts and health nonprofit called Hearts Need Art, creative support for patients and caregivers. And for the last couple of years, we have we have been talking and planning a podcast, and then COVID happened and we were, kicked out of hospitals because that's where we do our work. And not that we had any time, we went completely virtual. We were the people that just pressed go live on Facebook, and that's what we did. And we were doing art and music and stuff. And then I actually came across StreamYard watching a fundraiser on YouTube, a huge fundraiser that Rosie O'Donnell was hosting. And I figured out that she was using StreamYard. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, if Rosie's doing it, I have to do it. So I looked you up and I was like, and I can afford this. So I got StreamYard and started using it. We were doing live streams for Hearts Need Art. And that's why I was like, this is how we can elevate ourselves. Because at the beginning of COVID, everybody was live on Facebook doing, all kinds of art, and which was amazing. But I thought this would be a great way that we could elevate ourselves and make our chairs a little higher above everybody else who's Facebook streaming. And then we finally had some time and we created an arts and health podcast. So it's going to be visual and audio and on, Apple, iTunes and all of that stuff. But we use StreamYard to record interviews. And it's been really, we've had people from the UK, we've had people from all over, and it launches on April 15th, which is World Art Day.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really exciting to talk about and use this. It's such a great platform for even just recording stuff, because you don't need an extra editing software to then take all of that and put it in something else. You can do it all right here.
Right, and then you can take the video and use the video snippets to promote the podcast as well. So
exactly.
So many stuff. And there's good news for anybody who's using StreamYard for podcasting or wants to, which is coming later this week. We're going to be releasing, downloading the audio in 2 or more separate tracks.
Ooh.
So your track, my track, and any kind of additional tracks for music, like video clips. Not the cat. Cat will be mixed with you. Say Mike.
So I can't take her out. Dang it. I can give her a mic, maybe.
Each one will be a separate audio file. Or you could get it all mixed or separate audio files, and that way you can easily adjust the volumes, clip out the cat if you wanted to, trim out the cat, and so on and so forth. So say in some situations, say I'm talking, I'm coughing just as you're talking, you'd easily be able to just mute me for the podcast, right?
That's amazing. Is that for every platform, or which? All the free, the whatever versions there are?
Just the pro accounts.
Okay. Yeah, we're upgrading. That's on my list today, is we're going to upgrade today.
Ooh.
So that's very exciting.
Music to our bank account, but really we just the more expensive accounts simply cost more money. They take a lot more processing. So and they will receive even more later. So that's the way it works. Yeah. Exciting news for podcasters. This is really, really cool.
That's really awesome.
We have a lot of other cool features coming out, because we've hired a bunch of new developers. Now with Hopin, we have a much more robust infrastructure. So there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that will come out later. But
I bet you guys are not working over there. Or not sleeping, that you're always working, because you're always upgrading stuff, which is really helpful for us who are streaming and using it, that there's always something that pops up. I love the emails, because then I know something good is going to happen. And then I'm like, oh, good. And then it's so fun that it's not just sort of standard and it hasn't changed. Everyone's working so hard to make it the best possible platform. So I appreciate that.
And we have a big event coming up soon, which we haven't announced yet. So I'm just going to leave that hanging here and say the event is coming. So get excited about that, because that's going to be super, super cool. It's going to be a mega event. We're really going to town on this one. So,
yes.
Yeah. And you're all invited.
I'll be there.
So
send me the link.
We definitely will. Okay, so last chance to throw in any questions, you guys, and because we're getting close to the end of the show here. So final questions, if you have them, and also remember to start typing in #LoveStreamYard in order to get a chance to win a StreamYard mug.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of which,
yeah.
I won one a couple weeks ago and it arrived. It is the best. It's like the perfect size. I drink a lot of coffee and like I'm a handle person. Like some handles are really tiny. Your mug is really good. Just yes. Like that looks tiny in that picture, but it's it holds, I think I made like 4 cups at one time and it held all 4 cups.
Wow. Yeah, it is an oversized mug. So it lasts you enough coffee for an entire show. Yes.
And if you don't win it, I think it's $5 on their website, people. $5 for a really good mug.
For a really good mug. We make no profit on it. We just resell it just for the community, for the love of StreamYard.
I love that mug.
Yeah.
I just used it yesterday and it's in the dishwasher. That's why it's not here today.
So this is awesome. Lots of people loving StreamYard. I love how it kind of towards the end of the show when we announced this, all the lurkers wake up, the people who are listening, and it's great to know that you guys are listening, even if you don't have comments or questions. So this is a good way for us to kind of gauge how interesting this was. It's not just you left the browser running and walked away. We know that you're actually listening. So
yeah, I love things I've taken just from this interview is throwing out the link to join the broadcast. Like I've always been trying to figure out how to get like a virtual audience in StreamYard to watch, to max out the amount of people you can have in the green room, to have them there and maybe bring them in. And I love just like, here's the link, come, because it's not like Zoom where they're like in it, like you get to control all of that. So that's cool. And then also the hashtag, like people using the hashtag to win stuff. I like that. I'm stealing both of those, just so you know.
Yeah, do it. We've stolen these from of course from our customers. So we've learned and been inspired by our customers, and and it's interesting. We've had great success bringing viewers in on this show when we first did this. Now, for some reason, in the last couple of shows, not so much. So maybe we need to do something a bit differently. Christian on his show and Saturday has a ton of people joining his live show live. Because it's more about reviews. So it's not just to join to ask a question. You actually get your YouTube channel reviewed if you join live on the show. So it's much more interactive. So maybe there's something for us to learn.
Yeah, I saw a couple people that were like, I want to join. So maybe they're not just figuring out how to click I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, we also moderate. So in order to join, I'll just throw that out there. You have to have your camera on, so you can see that you're not crashing, not doing some weird things. And yeah, that does happen. We will ban you if you're trying to do that. And then we will chat with you briefly in the private chat to make sure to see that you're on target here. You're not like trying to take the show in a very, very different direction.
Yeah.
There might be another show for you if you are. So let's see. So if you don't mind, this is the time. Guys, type in love StreamYard hashtag if you haven't yet, because Rich is about to pick your pick the winner.
I get to pick it?
You get to pick it. So you just randomly scroll up and find somebody that meets your fancy.
Okay. When do I do that now?
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Wait, they're not like, wait.
Oh, you're on the phone. That's right.
No, I'm on my computer.
Oh,
here. They're just finally, wait. Listen, no one said I knew what I was doing. Wait, I'm going to give it one more. There we go. Okay, people, there. I'm going to go with Gray Man Prepping.
Awesome. Gray Man Prepping. I see you here. Here we go. Yeah, sorry. Oops. No, it's the wrong one. It scrolled on me. Sorry. Sorry, Joanne. I did. There we go. Gray Man Prepping. Congratulations on your StreamYard mug. All you have to do is email marketing@streamyard.com. You can toss in a screenshot of this if you want to. You don't have to. Just say that you want a mug, and we will ship it out to you wherever you are in the world, as long as that's legal for us to do so. And I think that's it. Any final kind of remarks, Rich, or anything you want to kind of bring in? Why don't you plug your own show as well?
Sure. So my show, The Richard Wilmore Show, thankfully I got the job. I had to interview twice for it. Is live Monday mornings at 10 a.m. Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, richardwilmore.com. And I think I love connecting with people and learning about people. So if you're watching, follow me on Instagram and send me a message. And let's network and share each other's shows and be on each other's shows. People who have shows, I think that's super important to have people who have shows to come on your show to promote it and to go on other people's. So if you're booking guests and want me to hang out with you for 10 minutes or whatever, or an hour, let me know. And I'd love to have people on my show because that's what it's all about.
That is awesome. Yeah. And make sure to join the StreamYard community on Facebook, the official community. If you are not a member yet, there's a ton of discussions there. If you're looking for guests, if you're looking to connect with other show hosts, that's the place to be. And if you just need tips and tricks, things you might have not known. I learned something yesterday that I didn't know was possible, where you could be camera off, but audio on StreamYard. Go figure. I didn't even know that that's possible.
Yeah,
so
I didn't even know that until today too. That's probably why I'm messing up all my buttons.
And they work here, people. They work here and they don't even know. So imagine
It's
what's
an
out
awesome
there.
feature. It's an awesome feature.
That's really cool.
the truth is out there. So you can
Yes.
find so many things to do with StreamYard. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much, Rich, for sharing your story with us and all of your knowledge. This was awesome. And thank you so much for creating such an amazing show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for making a product like this. It has changed my show, and I am very thankful for it.
And thank you, Joanne, for being the true brains behind the show. I would never do this without you. So not this way. I did it without you, but it wouldn't have been this. It wasn't as good.
I was like,
So,
wait. I think the show was running before I started.
Yeah. I wouldn't have done it
But
as
thanks
well
for
without
having me
you.
on. It's great.
So thanks you, and thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Bye.
Bye-bye.